Those who dug your grave, they forgot one sacred truth. God recycles coffins. And baby, you're about to use theirs as a platform. This isn't karma playing catch-up. This is spiritual law, long silent but never forgetful. And now it's moving, swift, surgical, spectacular. Let's rewind for a second. They mocked your grace, didn't they? Took your stillness as stupidity. Thought your humility meant they'd never be held accountable. They thought the story would end in dirt, that your name would fade quietly under ridicule. But while they schemed, heaven was scripting. You weren't just waiting. You were being prepared. And now, the stage is set. Not for revenge, but for a divine unveiling. What they thought was your end is now the opening scene of a story only God could write. They buried you, not knowing you were seed. And here's the shocking news. Your name is being restored in places they tried to stain it. Your influence is rising in the exact spaces they tried to shut you out of. Your blessings are arriving with a thunderclap that no one, not even Elon Musk, can ignore. Because this is bigger than vindication. It's proof that spiritual justice doesn't show up on our timeline. It shows up right on time. So breathe easy, chosen one. Heaven didn't forget. Heaven just waited for maximum impact. And now that moment is here. Shall I draft the continuation? What happens after the justice hits? A next chapter or a real ready version? Just say the word. Here's a harsh reality. Behavioral psychology research shows that individuals who betray others in public often seem confident while secretly struggling. In other words, they put on a fantastic performance, but the backstage chaos is terrible. And you know what? The curtain just dropped. They played the role of executioner in private, but now they are the ones being exposed in public, with their friendships disintegrating, their support network dissolving, and their false identity disintegrating more quickly than a cheap wig in a storm. You, in the meantime, not only are you being validated, but you're also being publicly, proudly, and unreservedly rewarded. God doesn't whisper it behind closed doors when He changes the script. Instead, He amplifies it so that even your adversaries can't claim they didn't hear it. We're not here to boast, so don't worry. Well, maybe a few heavenly giggles. This goes beyond retaliation. This is about the cosmic rule of exposure, doing what it does best, making things right in plain sight, and about divine restoration and public reversal. The next thing you'll see will make you chuckle, gasp, shake your head, and maybe even exclaim, "Woo, that's exactly what they deserved. Let's go." So fasten your seatbelt, type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. 1. The illusion they built is destroyed by their public execution. Lies, deceit, and meticulously staged acts were the foundation of their whole identity. Every praise was a plan, every smile was practiced, and every conversation with you had a secret purpose. They sought to influence how you saw yourself, how others perceived you, and how the outside world responded to your presence. For a while, they were successful. They were believed. You were seen as the one who was unsteady, troublesome, and just unable to control yourself. Additionally, they were out in public, playing the roles of celebrity, savior, or victim, depending on what garnered them the most sympathy, while you were engaged in spiritual combat behind closed doors. Illusions, however, are temporary. Truth eventually seeps through the gaps, and when it does, it doesn't knock softly. Rather, it knocks the door off its hinges. We are currently there. Their public demise is the unraveling of a tale they built, a role they played for years, and a version of reality that never existed. What's occurring isn't random. It's the collapse of a facade. Life exposed them. You didn't have to. The exact falsehoods they uttered are now becoming unprovoked evidence against them. So you didn't even need to defend yourself. The same tongues who once destroyed you are now criticizing them. Disgusted by what is being shown, the same individuals who previously supported them are now turning away. And the strongest component? You fought honorably. You didn't strike back. You recovered. You said nothing. You concentrated on developing. While others were acting, you were becoming. The difference is now too stark to overlook. People are awakening to the fact that you were always telling the truth. The purpose of their public execution is exposure, not retaliation. It's divine justice that they are now being exposed on the same platform where they mocked you. It's not subtle either. The collapse is visible, audible, and loud, because what they were based on was never going to last. And there you are, radiant, high, untarnished in the midst of their unraveling. You outlasted the delusion, not simply made it through the storm. And now the truth is releasing everyone, as it usually does when it appears at last. 2. Your reward is purposeful exposure, rather than just being elevated. Your reward isn't only a spiritual enhancement that takes place behind closed doors. It's taking place in public, where everyone can see it. Even those who have disregarded, questioned, or attempted to destroy you. This is about rectification, not boasting or showcasing. It has to do with heavenly harmony. Your embarrassment was not concealed. Nothing about the treachery, the gossip, or the false tales was silent. Why, therefore, would your prize be quiet? Justice would not be served by that. Alignment wouldn't be that. Those who saw your suffering are now compelled to see your ascent. And it's not because you're being spiteful. Rather, it's because your reward is a message. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. It was never your intention to prove anything. All you wanted was serenity. All you wanted was to be left alone to develop, recover, and just be. However, they would not permit that. When all you ever attempted to do was walk in truth, they prodded, lied, and portrayed you as the issue. God is now utilizing your life as a billboard to spread a message, rather than boost your ego. Your blessing is evident because it says, this is what happens when someone doesn't fold, doesn't break, and stays true no matter how much it costs them. It's for everyone who needs to know that honesty still triumphs, not just for you. It is dedicated to all the silent people who have been falsely accused, man. It's for all the underdogs who have been overlooked. Their encouragement is your prize. Ironically, the people who attempted to bury you are now your audience. They were setting up seats for themselves in the front row of your breakthrough, but they were unaware of it. The trick is that you're not even paying attention to them. You're not turning around. What has been long overdue is now being given to you. Coincidentally, however, God is ensuring that they do see it, because your ascent serves as a reminder to them, not out of retaliation, but out of insight. Heaven is rectifying the tale via your open reward, since the incorrect version received far too much attention. And now, openly, bravely, and loudly, the truth has come into view. And no one can dispute what they are seeing: divine justice in action, not even your adversaries. 3. They are being deprived of the authority they appropriated, in addition to being condemned. They sought to take away your voice, your identity, your relationships, and your confidence, in addition to hurting you. And they seemed to be winning for a while. They fabricated stories to support their claims. In the rooms where they were secretly stabbed, they grinned. By standing on your back and using your quiet as a ladder, they were able to acquire positions, favor, and power. They were unaware that authority acquired by corruption always has a cost, and interest is charged when the account is presented. Now, they are losing the very power they believed they had gained. The support networks they boasted about are disappearing. They're collapsing their networks. Their coalitions are revealed. Their former favor is vanishing. And all of a sudden, the attention they wanted felt more like questioning. Because the fall is never silent when you base your ascent on ego and falsehoods. It's a loud fall, too. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. The other side is that the exact things they took from you are being given back. Not as retaliation, but as a result of divine realignment. The manner you're being restored makes it obvious that they just briefly had the microphone and never had the power. However, truth always triumphs over noise. The fact that you may recover your soul without having to exchange it is what makes it so potent. You weren't manipulative. You didn't conspire. You believed that whatever had been wrongly stolen would finally come full circle and let life bloom. And it has now. The scene has changed. Your quiet became your haven, and their spotlight turned into a heat lamp. This is a heavenly transfer rather than just karma. The status, peace, and respect they attempted to take away from you are coming back, but this time with a firm foundation. They're also observing it. The worst part for them is that they are now losing the power that was stolen. They are powerless to stop it. Don't tell any lies. There are no more rooms for a run. No more phony pictures to conceal yourself behind. It is justice in its entirety, not just in theory. How about you? Since they were never the gatekeepers in the first place, you're getting everything they said you wouldn't get. 4. While others were rehearsing noisily, you were refined in silence. They were making a lot of noise since it served as a disguise. The false charm, the exaggerated confidence, and all that faking were masking a profound uneasiness. To be liked, feared, or accepted, they practiced every phrase, every exchange, and every version of themselves. They constructed an image, not a persona, and they made sure the audience saw it. Meanwhile, you remained quiet, not because you were weak, but because you were being rebuilt. You were going through a refining process that stripped you down to your essence. While they were attempting to impress everyone, you were striving to survive and evolve. They desired the limelight. You craved inner calm. They desired praise. You were seeking alignment. And that's the difference. While they were busy memorizing lines to keep their show going, you were addressing your demons, mending your scars, discovering your triggers, and being clear on who you are. They derided you for becoming silent. They called it isolation, breakdown, failure. But that quiet was your furnace. And God wasn't punishing you. He was purifying you. Quietly, completely, terribly, gloriously. Now everything is flipped. Every flaw in their facade is now visible due to the limelight they yearned for. How about you? You're presenting yourself as your own self, solid, grounded, and whole, rather than as a copy or a flawless facade. You've become truth rather than just walking in it. You no longer need to protect yourself because of this. You don't have to answer. You don't have to return the clap. The reply is your very existence. The fake is unpleasant because of your energy. What is absent from theirs is revealed by your presence. You lived for this moment. You didn't practice for it. The difference is now indisputable. One was based on dishonesty. The other was constructed silently, in the dark, under duress, and with tears. That's why your ascent seems so natural, and their fall so spectacular. It's not a stroke of luck. It's not a coincidence. It is the outcome of the work that was done in the background. You were getting ready with God, while others were performing for the world. The difference is so obvious now that both are being made public that you don't need to speak. 5. They were the shade. You were the seed. When they pushed you down, made fun of your development, and attempted to hide you, they believed they were winning. They felt stronger each time they discredited you, ignored you, or disseminated false information about you. They believed they were in charge, choosing who was heard and who was not. They failed to realize, however, that you were a seed, and seedlings are made to flourish in concealed, gloomy, and stressful environments. Incubation was what seemed to be seclusion. Instead of suffocating you, their shade, the negativity, the rumors, the manipulation, provided the ideal environment for your growth in ways they were blind to. You were establishing strong, deep roots that are unshaken by fleeting storms or superficial recognition, while they were showing off their superficial achievements. You were developing for longevity, not for attention. What they attempted to conceal, your purpose, your strength, and your promise, is now being revealed by the same earth they attempted to bury you in. What about the irony? They used their shade as a trap. The very evidence of their demise is what was previously their instrument of control. They're diminishing as you climb. They are becoming less relevant as you grow. Their darkness just postponed the inevitable. It had no actual power. And you're making progress now. You are not only a parent, you are indisputable. Your breakthrough is causing the concrete that they believed would confine you to crumble. They're being forced to see something they vowed never to happen: your elevation. And you're outgrowing the exact boundaries they set for you. What hurts them the most, however, is that you didn't need retribution. It wasn't necessary for you to fight dirty. You just continued to develop. They are now the target of the joke. They tossed a shadow that became chilly. They no longer had the prominence they coveted. What's left? A dying shadow of the person they feigned. Quiet, ignored, counted out. You were the seed. However, you were also selected. And now, with strength they can't control and light they can't stop, everything they attempted to kill is reviving. 6. Heaven reversed what they weaponized. They believed that the chilly weight of ignoring you, treachery cloaked in friendship, poison propagated by rumors, and hushed murmurs behind your back were their intangible weapons. They thought that by using these strategies you would be silently broken, defeated, and ignored. However, they were unaware that these instruments had a secret rule against them. The identical weapons they used to harm you have now become bonds that would ultimately lead to their own demise. The spiritual rule of inversion, which states that any assault meant to shatter you returns and kills the attacker, has turned the script in the most obvious manner conceivable. So you never had to do anything in response, since a greater force was already at work. Their own depravity has been revealed by the rumors they spread in an attempt to isolate you. Their lies, which were intended to damage your reputation, now expose their deceit and despair. They can't be trusted, as shown by the treachery they committed to dominate you. And the quiet they imposed on you has turned into their own, one that begs for shame and remorse. Their breaking point has changed from what should have been yours. They poured poison into your life, and it has fermented and became poisonous in return. In front of everyone, the falsehoods they told to cover up their shortcomings are coming undone. Their actual nature has been revealed to the world by the betrayals that previously left you feeling helpless. Their demise is not only a personal tragedy, it is also a warning, a lesson, and a spectacle. The nicest thing is that you didn't have to play their game or fall to their level. You maintained your cleanliness. You remained loyal, and you let divine justice and life to accomplish the job. Every wound they caused now resurfaces like a mirror, reflecting their own ugly nature. The audience can plainly understand who the true victim and villain are, and what they used as a weapon against you is now a cage capturing them. They planned their devastation, but heaven changed the conclusion, and this time, the triumph is audible, indisputable, and publicly shown. 7. You are the tangible evidence that God hears instances in the Spirit. You were standing in a courtroom far away from them, while they were gathering in secret, scheming, chatting, and weaving webs in private rooms and group chats. This courthouse isn't made of stone and wood. Rather, it's in the spirit world where every movement, every word and every intention are perfectly captured on tape. Nothing eludes the everlasting witnesses who observe everything, consider everything, and prepare judgment appropriately, even if they believed their schemes were concealed and their falsehoods went undiscovered. In your battle, you were never by yourself. There was heavenly counsel going over every detail, hearing every rumor, and seeing every effort to shatter you, even when it seemed like you were confronting the world alone. Even if you were unable to speak out, your name was protected. This higher court, where justice is determined by the actual truth rather than by popularity or manipulation, heard every false charge and treachery,